So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Wellness Wednesday with the South Fulton Mental Health Collaborative. My name is Elise Payne, and as you see, we have several guests with us today. So I'll get those introductions started in just a few moments. But I wanted to welcome you to our last Wellness Wednesday of 2020. We are excited for all the opportunities that we've had this year to grow and learn and develop together and working towards mental health and wellness and well-being for our community. Now, as you all know, December was our month to focus on wellness and well-being. So today we've got some people who are going to share with us about the amazing work they're doing, specifically related to child well-being in Fulton County. I also wanted to make sure I remind you that our first Wellness Wednesday of 2021 will be January 6th at 12 p.m. here. We will be welcoming our partners from Fulton County Schools, Dr. Jima Whitaker, and we will also be welcoming individuals from the South Fulton Parents for Education group to share about their commitment to mental health and wellness for the new year. So we ask you to join us then. We will also be doing Wellness Wednesdays every Wednesday, once a month, the first Wednesday of every month. So you can set your calendar, go ahead and get that ready, bring your lunch, join us, and have those wellness moments each month. So now I'm going to turn it over to my amazing colleague and part of the South Fulton Mental Health community, Patrice Barlow.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for guests for joining us. Thank you for our one amazing audience and host. My name is Patrice Barlow, and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Fulton County Schools. And I'm honored to be here today with our amazing guests. We have with us Ms. Vanessa Rousell, who is with United Way of Greater Atlanta, and she is the Director of Corporate Relations, working in many counties, but specifically South County is where we know her expertise also lies. And so we welcome you, Ms. Vanessa. We also have with us Sabrina Calloway, who is an amazing resource to Fulton County Schools. She serves as our South Fulton Homeless Liaison, as well as the district's foster care liaison. So welcome, Sabrina. We are just really happy to have you all here, knowing that you all have an amazing, vast knowledge and experience working in South Fulton. We really would like to hear how you yourselves, as well as the organizations that you work with, are working collectively to serve our South Fulton families, our students, their families, our communities, and specifically along the lines of well-being. So I know, Vanessa, you've done extensive work in this area. If you could just begin with a brief introduction of yourself, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of really what is child well-being and how it's been looking in South Fulton.
Thank you, Patrice, and thank you, Elise, for having me here today, and Jackie, of course. I appreciate that. I am, as Patrice indicated, the Director of Corporate Relations for DeKalb, Gwinnett, and South Fulton. And my work really is in the fundraising area. So I get to meet with a lot of donors and hear a lot of information about the needs in the areas where I work. South Fulton, as Patrice said, is one of the areas where I've worked the hardest, I guess, because the need is the greatest. And trying to make people aware of that need is part of what my responsibility is. I wasn't always in this business. I had another life before coming to United Way. I worked in corporate America for years, designing high-end telecommunications products for Fortune 500 companies. And when I left that area, I wanted to do something more meaningful in the community. And this job has given me that opportunity. And I'm just grateful to be here today.
Thank you. I didn't know that. I've known you for quite some time, and I didn't know that extensive background. It's amazing. Thank you so much. So Sabrina, I know you have an extensive experience in South Fulton as well, not just with Fulton County Schools. So if you could please give us a little introduction about your work and your experience working with our families and students.
Hi, thank you, Patrice and Jackie and Elise. Yes, my career started, I realized, over 20 years ago in public service. I was a Fulton County Sheriff's deputy, moved over into the school system. I have been South Fulton majority of my career. My current role, I served as the social work for some of our South Fulton schools. In my current role, again, as you said earlier, I serve South Fulton. And with that with partnerships and with the experience, I have come to have a serious love for my South Fulton. Although I don't live in Fulton County, but I'm very close to you guys. And so just working collaboratively, and with other agencies, I've grown a big pot of resources to help our families in need, especially during these times.
Wonderful, excellent. Well, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing just how you are continuing to serve our families and the resources that we can share with the audience so that we all can be, those stakeholders and keeping to move the good work. So thank you for those introductions. I learned a little bit more about both of you ladies, so thank you for sharing that. But here today, we are here to talk about child well-being and just well-being overall for our communities and our families. And I know that United Way of Greater Atlanta has an extensive campaign around child well-being. And so I know in South Fulton, as you mentioned, Ms. Rousell, we do have significant need. Therefore, we've been seeking significant resources. And so United Way in South Fulton has aligned priorities based on the child well-being measures, really to address the country's most pressing issues. And so as Sabrina and I have spoken about, we know that those barriers and those issues are pretty extensive. And so the focus that South Fulton has had to ensure that children really have high levels of support, high levels of resources, really to prepare them and get them situated in a better position for education and college and career and beyond. And so I would love to hear a little bit more from you, Vanessa, about how United Way has really been able to organize and convene these resources so that we can really provide a little bit more financial stability, housing stability, education stability, mental health stability, and all of those pieces.
Okay, well, thank you, Patrice. A couple of years ago, I guess maybe 3 years ago now, United Way launched what we technically call our Child Wellbeing Movement. And with that movement, we collected a lot of data with several partners that painted a really sad picture, not just for South Fulton, but for metropolitan Atlanta at large. And one of the things we were able to do was come up with an index by zip code. And I guess the average score for metropolitan Atlanta at that time, which was, we announced it in 2017, was 58.9. South Fulton at that time, and this is 58.9 out of 100. South Fulton at that time, that score was 39.1 out of 100. So of the 9 zip codes that we look at in South Fulton, it meant predominantly most of them were in what we call low to very low child well-being. So we made that index so that we could focus in the areas where it was needed the most. That was very helpful because that index then was common, not just to Fulton County, but to the 13 counties that make up metropolitan Atlanta. So United Way could then pinpoint where we needed to make more investments than perhaps we had done in the past. So South Fulton, I'm glad to say, when we recalibrated, we looked at it, and the work that we were doing seemed to be moving us in the right direction. Our score improved in South Fulton from 39.1 to 42.1. Granted, still not a great score, but what it says is we are definitely moving in the right direction. One of the things that we also realized this past year with the introduction of COVID-19 and some of the unrest in the communities across the country, that there is systemic racism that we need to also be involved in. So once COVID was launched, we put out a campaign to raise money. And we raised in a very short period of time with our partner Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta, over $25 million. Of that $25 million, almost $4 million was directed to agencies in South Fulton that were plagued with problems from the standpoint of supporting continuing education, childcare, financial support, small business support, housing, healthcare, and emergency financial assistance, those 7 areas. So I'm pleased to say that South Fulton got a significant amount of resources from the agencies that were funded in that process. In addition, we recently launched our United for Racial Equity and Healing fund, and it's in its early stages, so we have not begun to really distribute those funds, but we will be in helping to eliminate or help agencies that are working in the area of systemic racism, because we know that the areas that are most plagued by problems like lack of educational results, because we track 14 things with our Child Wellbeing Index, and several of them are in the area of education: third grade reading rates, high school graduation rates, parents with high school diplomas, those kinds of things, not rocket science, children in poverty. And we see that those things have a great impact on the community. So working with the donor community and looking at the statistics in South Fulton, we have been able to mobilize donors to help. And recently, our most recent gift, if you will, was to Fulton County Schools, a small sum to help with the digital divide. Because we know that is a very real problem. If you have a computer, but you don't have internet access, it doesn't help much. And we need to make sure, particularly since this is, these are troubling times with COVID and very difficult times to manage, that children have access to the educational tools that they need. So those are some of the most recent things we've done.
Absolutely. Wow, that is very impressive. I did hear about a lot of the funding and the resources that has been brought forth through United Way's efforts in support of Fulton County Schools and a lot of our schools and communities. So we thank you for that effort and that hard work. I know that there seems to be a little bit of challenges in trying to identify maybe where to seek those resources or to get the support from those agencies that may have been funded through the campaign efforts of United Way. I know there's an extensive list of partners and resources, but is there another way or a better way, if you could maybe assist with how can families, how can partners, how can schools get better knowledge about the resources that may be available, either from this funding or even from not, but available in the South Fulton community?
Well, there are a couple of things, Patrice, thanks for asking that question. One, we always direct folks to our 211 call center. The call center is operational Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we speak from the call center. We can help residents in 140 different languages. So that call center is able to direct people to resources closest to them. When you put in your zip code, then it will know these are the agencies in that area or close to that zip code that may be able to help you. I will say with COVID, the wait times for calling are extremely high. So we're recommending that people chat, email, text 211. We've got several ways you can access this, but that is one great resource that people don't use as much as we would like to see them use it. Our 211 folks have been busy. I can't say that over the last 9 months with COVID, and the primary things that people are calling about are rent assistance, utility assistance, and food. So we've got special efforts going on to try to help in those areas. We just, September 30th, we released another round of COVID funding specifically to focus in 4 particular areas. Education, again, high on our priority. Food security, there are food deserts in South Fulton, given the population that we serve, and the request for food has gone up dramatically. So we're working closely with the Atlanta Community Food Bank to make sure that we can help to provide food in those areas where it's needed. Mental health, Patrice, is another area. People are becoming depressed over either losing their jobs, being furloughed, or hovering over their heads the weight of possible eviction. So we're working in those areas in particular with this last round, and we were able to fund another 6.5 million out in the community, of which I have a list of the agencies put together that will be able to help with problems in those 4 areas in the South Fulton area. And with that second round, we specifically said the agency had to have a budget under $2 million and be headed by a Black, Indigenous, or person of color, and have a board that way, because we want to make sure that the people that need it the most are getting it the most. Because if you look at the statistics based on white and Black wealth, it is a big discrepancy. So we want to make sure that we're focusing our efforts where they need to go.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that information. I'm going to turn to Sabrina because I know a lot of those resources you shared, Sabrina is a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of information. So those are probably familiar to you. I know within our Fulton County Schools, we do provide mental health services in every single one of those schools, either through Odyssey, through Summit, through Family Ties, or through Chris 180. And so I was just curious, Sabrina, in addition to the Fulton County Schools resources, in addition to 211 and those resources that United Way is helping to put in place and to fund, I would love to hear what are maybe some other resources that you are aware of or resources that you need that you haven't seen tapped into. And the reason why I'm specifically asking is because I know that your ears are to the ground. You know, you are working directly with our schools, directly with our students, directly with our families. And I know that there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes there's still a breakdown in getting that information directly in the homes. And so I was curious as to, are there additional resources that you utilize that you can share with us that are helpful? And then are there any gaps that you've identified that we haven't maybe targeted a resource to help?
Thank you again. And before I start, I want to say thank you for allowing me on this platform. And a lot of things that was just said, I was over here nodding because I probably blow up 211 with some of my families. The basics of the resources, again, with the mental health, we have come a long way since I left individual schools. I believe now I can almost say with a certainty, almost 99% of our schools have mental health resources. From my office in particular, we also support with food. Soup Your Jenny, for those who know this agency, they do healthy soups, and they've been donating to us, I know, for at least the last 4 or 5 years. So we are able to provide soup, not only to our homeless families, but I have kind of opened it up now to some of our families that are just in need. Other resources that we do to assist, and especially with education, is for our homeless families. We are providing tutorial services, and that is something that we're pushing out even more when families are identified, especially with COVID. And it's funny because every time a conversation come up, I have to say pre-COVID, because COVID seems has changed the world in these few months. But if the biggest and the most gut-wrenching thing that happens in my area is housing and the lack of. We have had agencies that have supported us, and they came in and supported, with housing and stabilized families for 30 days in hotels. And of course, they are now waiting to see if they're going to get that funding again. But right now, I don't have that support. So if I have a mom that calls me and say, hey, I'm about to get put out, I can only tell them call 211. But I really don't know of any resource that will help stabilize that family. I know that some of our schools actually collect money to keep families in, but as you know of, because of it's so big, how you turn down one family but then help another family. So the biggest resource gap I have is housing. We know there are no, because we also do transportation requests, but because of COVID, but I saw on this request, it said this family is in Atlanta shelter. So I automatically knew it was not our district. And after I researched the shelter, it was Atlanta Public Schools. So when I see certain things like, hey, this family is living in a shelter, I automatically know they're not speaking about South Fulton. I know that they're going to go to either Atlanta or over to Clayton County. So unless we have shelter, transitional housing, or since we don't have that, shelter to me is the hotels. That is the biggest gap I have, because parents are utilizing, for those who use the app, I can't think of it, it gives you, it lets you know about different cheap hotels, and they're going to the hotels that they get alert that the price has dropped. So our families are bouncing, and we have supported them with, devices and hotspots to keep them engaged. But you think of a family that just packed up overnight and left to go to another hotel. So if the message can get out there is we need housing. We need severe help with housing here in the South Fulton area.
Wow. Thank you for your perspective and your insight. And as you were speaking, I was thinking that, our challenges that we're facing in mental health, it doesn't have a particular label. We're talking about running the gamut from one end to the other, and these potential challenges could affect anyone. And so as we think about all the various levels of our families and communities across Fulton County, then, it's really important for us to just be able to prioritize mental health, the basic needs. It's really hard to gain stable mental health without the awareness that you have your basic needs met. So of course, that is going to be an ongoing conversation, ongoing work. And I just applaud your efforts, your individual efforts, as well as your collective efforts around these, because this is a monumental task to try to find solutions for. And I do believe that South Fulton is doing an amazing job with being able to identify, coordinate, and then hopefully disperse these resources so that families have access to them. I will say that I'm familiar with the South Fulton Human Services Coalition that's also working towards some housing options. So I will extend an invitation to that coalition to see if maybe we can get part 2 on this discussion and what they're also doing with and working with Fulton County to see what the possible solutions on that end could be as well. But I just really thank you all. I know this is a short 30-minute conversation, but the focus is really to make sure that we're pushing forth the solutions and the resources that are all collectively putting forth so our families and our students can thrive. And that is the ultimate goal, is that our families and our students have the resources and the availability to thrive and to live their absolute best lives. So in closing, I want to give everyone a chance to leave us with a little nugget. I would love to just make sure I shared with the entire community that Fulton County Schools is continuing to support mental health and the challenges, not just during this time, but through all times. And so for any Fulton County student and family, particularly middle and high school, we have our Text for Help campaign. And so that is something that if you have not, you will be seeing more information about that if you're a Fulton County Schools family. I encourage you to look into that, put it on your child's phone, make sure that they have access and you have access to that, because it will allow them to have contact with a mental health professional within 3 minutes. And so if they need to speak with someone about how they're feeling and how they're doing, this is a great opportunity and a great resource to do so. Sometimes we know it's just okay to not be okay. And so we want to make sure we provide those resources so that our families know that we are here with them. And then of course it's the holiday season. So in being in COVID, not pre-COVID, we would normally have, a whole giving campaign and making sure that families felt the love throughout the community. And so we've partnered with Proposity. And so you can download the Proposity app. You can follow Fulton County Schools and see the remaining of our needs. We filled over 750 needs so far, but there are gifts still waiting to be gifted to students who have requested these specific gifts. And so we want to brighten their holidays and provide those for them. So anyone can download the app and contribute. But those are my takeaways, but I would love to just allow everyone to just close out and to leave us with what would you like the South Fulton community to know? And thank you all so much for being here. Vanessa, would you like to go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, two things. One, know that 211 is a resource. Contact 211, text, call, chat, email. There are various ways, but don't give up, because they will continue to work with you. It takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. Also, the other opportunity is on our website, which is www.unitedwayatlanta.org, or the resources that have been funded by the various categories we discussed: mental health, housing, education, etc. So those will give you keys to the agencies that may have some resources that can help you. Granted that the need there is greater than it ever was. So I don't know that we can ever raise enough money fast enough to complement the need, but we're doing whatever we can. And also I want to mention that I'm working with Mayor Deanna Holiday Ingraham, particularly in East Point, who's going to host a forum on Tuesday night to talk about housing as well. So if you're in East Point, listen up for that forum as well, with some resources and some ideas there. Thank you.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Yes, and the only takeaway I want to give is please contact your school social worker. They are a wealth of resources, a wealth of knowledge. It's almost like a pot, and I have a pot over here, but if you're making dinner, there are several pots. Sometimes partners will go directly to the schools and work. So if you hear one door shut, just go to another door. But I just, if you can't remember, say, hey, that lady that was on Facebook, she told me to go to the school social worker. Just ask for your school social worker. They are the backbone of our district, the backbones of our school, and they may not can get you what you need right there, but I guarantee you they can at least get you in a direction where to go. Please stay safe, stay well, and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Elise and Jackie, I forgot to check the chat. Do we have any questions or any comments? And please forgive me for overlooking that. I know we were so into the conversation and the resources, information kept coming, but I want to acknowledge to make sure there's no questions that we need to answer before we depart.
Thanks for checking in on it, Patrice. No worries. We do have people in the chat kind of just saying, hello, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. So all of it has been a lot of love for you. So thank you so much for your time today. We do welcome anybody to leave questions. If you have questions and you may be watching this video at another time, because these videos are available 24/7 on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page, go ahead and leave one in the chat. And I am the one who's checking and updating, and we'll be happy to reach back out to you and answer any questions, and at least get your questions to the people who may be able to answer them if I'm not the one who can. So we don't have any questions right now we need to address, but we want to thank everyone who was able to be with us live today, and thank all of you who are watching after the fact. You are, this is for you. This is for the community. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Okay.
So everyone have a great rest of your holiday season. We wish you many blessings and peace this holiday season. And as we end the year of 2020 and head into 2021, I'm going into it with hope and look forward to seeing you guys back here on January 6th at 12 p.m. to hear from our partners who are committed to mental health wellness in our community. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe and be well. Remember, we're making a difference one day at a time.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.